A 75-minute crisis town hall held by the New York Times revealed a telling agenda as the paper continues their coverage of the president going into 2020. One America's Chanel Rion has more from the White House.
Media slant exposed. The New York Times held a crisis meeting Monday discussing how to shift from the Russia hoax story to a Trump is a racist spin going into 2020. This meeting was not meant for public, but a recording of it was leaked and published by Slate on Thursday. The meeting consisted of Times staffers, executive editor Dean Baquet, and Times publisher A.G. Sulzberger. The catalyst for the crisis meeting was over the Times' controversial headline, "Trump urges unity versus racism," a headline not anti-Trump enough, but the focus of the meeting quickly shifted to how the Times would shift its narrative about Trump from Trump Russia to Trump racist. A direct quote from Times executive editor Baquet: "We built our newsroom to cover one story, Russia collusion, and we did it truly well," Baquet said. "Now we have to regroup and shift resources and emphasize to take on a different story." Baquet adds, "We've got to change. The Times must write more deeply about the country, race, and other divisions." The Times staff agreed with Baquet on the shift toward racism-centric reporting. One Times staffer said racism and white supremacy is a foundation of America, saying, quote, "Racism is in everything. It should be considered in our science reporting, in our culture reporting, in our national reporting. To me, it's less about the individual instances of racism and how we're thinking about racism and white supremacy as the foundation of all of the systems in the country." Baquet agreed with this, but added that the Times needs to be subtle. Though Times staff wanted to outright say Trump is racist, Baquet urged staffers to be more subtle, to lead readers to the conclusion that Trump is racist rather than outright saying so. President Trump had this to say about the New York Times' meeting on Sunday morning. "One of the most devastating portrayals of bad journalism in history got caught by a leaker that they are shifting from their phony Russian collusion narrative to a racism witch hunt. Journalism has reached a new low in the history of our country. It is nothing more than an evil propaganda machine for the Democrat Party. It has now become a very sick joke, but the public is aware." Some question if the Times is guided merely by the staff's personal hatred for the Trump administration, or if larger factors could be considered, and the old mantra "follow the money" comes into play. It is notable that the New York Times has been funded and subsidized by the wealthiest, most powerful man in Mexico, Carlos Slim. The Mexican media mogul is the fifth wealthiest man in the world. Slim saved the Times from ruin back in 2009, and Slim is the single largest shareholder of the Times today, a publicly traded company. Slim is a powerful force in Mexico. It is often said Slim controls Mexico through his close relationships with Mexican presidents over the decades. And by this estimation, some say the New York Times is essentially an extension of Mexico, a story that the Times fails to mention in its coverage of President Trump. Chanel Rion, One America News, the White House.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.